Welcome back, everybody, to Amateur TV. Another video today on the second channel concerning the Toronto Raptors today. If you find yourself enjoying this video, please be sure to drop a like and consider subscribing for more Raptors content and general NBA content all throughout the offseason on, again, this second channel, our main channel, Amateur Sports. If you don't know, just hit 9,000 subscribers. Only Raptors content on there. If you want to check it out, the link in the description. But today, we are focusing on the Raptors because yesterday was 3 years to the day exactly that the Raptors won their first ever NBA championship. What a moment. What a run for that team. Raptors fans, I think anybody watching this who is a Raptors fan will know exactly where they were, what they were doing, the emotions they were going through, how they were feeling for that Game 6 against the Warriors. 3 years and 1 day ago now, this video coming out on June 14th. But what a time. What a time to be a Raptors fan. Just to run in general. All of the things that we went through to get that championship. All the hurt that we went through to get that championship. All the years of LeBronto, the what-if seasons. Well, we didn't have to ask those questions anymore. Or do we? Because Kawhi Leonard, who was instrumental, obviously, in winning that championship, the most important piece and probably the missing piece for the Raptors in winning that championship. Now, there's this notion that he carried the Raptors, and maybe to a degree that he did, but there were a lot of players having great runs as well to the finals, like Fred VanVleet, who ended up getting a Finals MVP vote, Siakam, who was a great scorer, Kyle Lowry, who was such a great leader and so effective on the court as well over the course of the playoffs. But we know we don't win that championship without Kawhi Leonard, and Kawhi Leonard decides after the season that, he's done his job, decides to go home to LA and play with the Clippers, who are still trying to even get close to winning a championship, but the what-if question still kind of remains, because what if Kawhi had stayed? There were a lot of rumors at the time. Maybe he was going to stay. Maybe if the Raptors hadn't won the championship, he would have stayed to try to get some, maybe some unfinished business. Maybe, all these maybe things. But at the end of the day, Kawhi Leonard decides to go to the Clippers because the Clippers were willing to part with all of those assets to bring Paul George. Had the Raptors dumped a lot of assets, the rumor was the Raptors had to trade away like a bunch of young players and Siakam and a bunch of picks for Paul George. The Raptors ultimately decided not to do that, a decision I support to this day. But what if Kawhi had just decided to re-sign, run it back with the Toronto Raptors? I asked this in the community tab on the main channel, Amateur Sports, how many titles would the Raptors have if Kawhi had stayed? And the overwhelming majority of voters said that they would have 2. And the biggest thing was people thought that we would go back-to-back. Now, we're going to break this down in today's Amateur TV video. We're going to go through the run of the 2020 NBA championship, the run that both teams went on, Miami Heat, Boston Celtics, Los Angeles Lakers, to determine if the Raptors could have run it back. So, obviously, we win that championship against Golden State. If Golden State were fully healthy, maybe there's a little bit of a different story, as if Kevin Durant plays every game, maybe there's a little bit of a different story, but something that won't matter at the end of the day because the Raptors won the championship, and nothing will take that away. But, even with the 2020 championship, nothing will take away the Lakers chip or the run the Celtics or the Heat went on over the course of those playoffs. And, I'm not trying to make this video like I'm butthurt that Kawhi Leonard left. At the end of the day, I'm thankful that he was here and he played so well for a city that maybe he didn't want to get traded to at all. And he really gave his all and just did a bit of a, honestly, was a hero over the course of the playoffs. Like looking at his numbers from that season, it's this one right here. Crazy numbers in the regular season, dealing with that load management thing. But at the end of the day, maybe the load management helped Kawhi stay fresh for that deep playoff run. 26.5 points per game, almost 50% shooting from the field, 37% from 3, along with 7 rebounds, 3 assists, and just elevated unbelievably in the playoffs to over 30 points per game, 49% from the field, even upping those field goal attempts, 38% from 3, just stupid numbers, 9 rebounds and 4 assists. Honestly, those are just stupid numbers. And that got us to that championship. But what about the next season? So the Raptors treated as if they were going to be a lottery team again after Kawhi Leonard left. Now, I didn't think the Raptors would be as good as they were. They ended up being the 2 seed in the NBA that season, when many expected them to be, again, a lottery team. I personally had them as the 5th seed in the East for that season, but they even shocked me. They shocked a lot of Raptors fans with how good they were, getting to the playoffs and forcing a Game 7 after an opening round sweep of the Nets. They forced a game 7 in the conference semifinals, ultimately losing to the Celtics in very narrow fashion as well in that game 7. So, obviously, there were some blowouts in this series. The Raptors really struggled in 3 of these games. Barely narrow out game 3 with that heroic OG Anunoby buzzer beater, we all know. Get it done in game 4. Also get it done in game 6, a really tough game. I believe this one went to double overtime, at least one overtime in that one, and just slightly fall in that game 7. So I think with the team that the Raptors had for that Celtics series, you add in Kawhi Leonard, maybe sacrifice a little bit of depth, but let's say you add in Kawhi Leonard. Raptors got to game 7 of the series with their best player really not showing up in Pascal Siakam. He's kind of fought those demons, and I think he's put them behind him to a little bit of a degree, but Siakam did not show up in that series. Yet still, we're 5 points away from possibly winning a game 7. So I think if Kawhi is there, number one, we have Kawhi, and I think that alone gets us over the top in this series. And Siakam, who's not the focal point of the offense for the first time in his career, the focal point of an offense or focal point where the defense is going to focus on. I think Siakam plays better, and I think, we have Kawhi. I think we win this series. I know it's a little bit, it's not quite as black and white as I'm making it out to be, but I think, operating with what we have here, the Raptors probably win that series if Kawhi Leonard is present. He wasn't, and we didn't, but, this is all a hypothetical video. Again, I'm not butthurt about Kawhi leaving or anything. I'm upset because we're going to talk about how we maybe could have won another championship, but at least we have one. There are a lot of other teams in the NBA who still don't have any championships, like the Los Angeles Clippers. But let's say we get out of that round. We go to the conference finals. I thought the Celtics were a lot better than this Miami Heat team. That did not reign true as the Celtics fell into a 3-1 hole. There was that insane block by Bam Adebayo in one of the games on Jason Tatum. I think it was either game 1 or 2. Bam Adebayo with a huge block on Tatum near the end of the game to put the Miami Heat over the top. I feel like it was game 1, but I could be wrong about that. I hope you know what I'm talking about. The big middle finger block. Literally got one finger as Jason Tatum tried to poster him near the end of the game. Regardless, I think the Celtics should have beaten this Heat team and were better than this Heat team. Therefore, the Raptors had beaten the Celtics. Well, I think they take care of business here. There was some crazy games by Goran Dragic in this series. Looking at kind of the points over here, Jimmy Butler went off in the finals. We know that. But as far as the conference finals, Kawhi could have mitigated anything Jimmy Butler threw at him, I would say. You look at the year before, 2019, when we faced Jimmy Butler, we were able to kind of handle him a little bit. Jimmy Butler is a good player. He's going to get his. But ultimately, this wasn't a phenomenal Miami Heat team by any stretch of the imagination. Looking at this Miami Heat team, yeah, obviously Bam Adebayo was really coming on that season. Jimmy Butler, we know about him. But, other than that, Tyler Hero, super young, did have a good playoffs, understandably. Goran Dragic did have a good playoffs. I understand that. But, a lot of role players around. Jay Crowder is a good player. I think, a good fifth man for a starting lineup. But again, it's just not a formidable roster. This is not the type of roster you would have expected to get to an NBA Finals. So I think on that front, the Raptors get out of the East. I'm really struggling to see a reality where the Raptors fail to come out of the East if they run it back with Kawhi Leonard in that season. And then you go to the NBA Finals. So what was a big difference in this series? Because as good as Jimmy Butler played, LeBron was obviously phenomenal as well. AD was pretty good in these playoffs as well. One of the biggest things for the Lakers was biggest things. They were big. They used their size to their advantage to beat the Heat. I also felt like they were much better than Miami. I'm surprised. I'm honestly a little bit surprised this even went to 6 games. The Miami Heat stealing 2 of those games. Really did not feel like Miami had any chance in this series. At the end of the day, they lost in 6. Somewhat respectable. But if the Raptors get here, now this is the only part of this run potentially for the Raptors. Again, all hypothetical and all, doesn't change anything. But only thing that I can say about the Lakers here, because when you look at this team, they had this. Obviously you got LeBron, got AD, of course, and then Rajon Rondo, an old Rajon Rondo, starting at point guard. Danny Green at shooting guard. Raptors fans, we know how effective he can be defensively, but he really struggled offensively in this series. KCP, decent at best. Had a pretty good finals. I'll give him that. Avery Bradley didn't do much in that series. Caruso, okay, neat and tidy players all over the place. They had JaVale McGee, Dwight Howard. They did not end up using JaVale McGee either much or at all in this series. Used Dwight Howard a little bit sporadically as far as I remember, but as far as that team goes, this is a Raptors team that was absolutely stacked. Starting lineup, I think another good thing to remember is if and I just thought about this, if Kawhi stays, then so does Danny Green. So we don't even have to face Danny Green on the Lakers. Maybe they would have replaced him. Let's just kind of assume Danny Green still goes to the Lakers. Let's just say if Kawhi had stayed. Let's not add in Danny Green to this. We still, Kyle Lowry, you have Fred VanVleet, great guard combo. Kawhi Leonard, of course. Pascal Siakam. Marc Gasol, still a very good defender at the time. Maybe losing a little bit of his offensive edge and shooting. Still, that is a great starting lineup off the bench. Serge Ibaka, Norman Powell, OG Anunoby. That was an absolutely stacked team that the Raptors were working with. On the bench, Serge Ibaka was playing the best basketball of his career that year. OG Anunoby averaging 11, 12 points per game that season. Also doing so much great work defensively. Norman Powell was bursting onto the scene as somebody who could really be a good scorer. That was a loaded Raptors team. The only thing, on paper, that Raptors team, to me, is better. Because as good as LeBron is, Kawhi has been one of the only players ever to be able to really give LeBron a ton of problems. Maybe you can also talk about the Mavericks in the 2011 NBA Finals. But nonetheless, the only thing I can give the Lakers the edge in that series for is they have LeBron. And sometimes that's enough. As far as AD goes, historically has problems playing against the Raptors. They match up really well against AD. In fact, the Raptors in general over the last few years have matched up really well against the Lakers for whatever reason. So that again, those sort of trends kind of disappear for playoff series. But ultimately, the Raptors have a really good opportunity to win that series. I would say they are the better team there, and they have the one player. If you want to limit LeBron, if you could choose any player at that time or even now to defend LeBron, you would choose Kawhi Leonard, right? So I struggle to be convinced the Raptors don't go back-to-back, and it is a damn shame Kawhi decided to go to LA. I guess the job was finished in Toronto. I'm wearing this hat. We are an NBA champion. There are a lot of teams in the NBA who do not have any championships, who have been around a lot longer than the Raptors have, who were founded in 1995. So it is sad, but ultimately, I'm grateful for the championship that we had. I'm not going to be super greedy, but the what if Kawhi had stayed is going to be something that kind of haunts us for quite a while. But whatever, we do have the championship. We thank Kawhi for that, and nothing that we say now can change that. So thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know in the comments how many championships you think the Raptors would have if Kawhi had stayed, if they would have won this one I'm talking about, or not as well. And thank you so much for watching. Please drop a like if you enjoyed this video, and consider subscribing for more NBA content all throughout the offseason on Amateur Hour TV. And make sure as well you are subscribed to the main channel, Amateur Hour Sports. See you again next time.